All right, today we're taking this show on the road. We're gonna head down into Philadelphia and we are gonna go meet up with Matt Serra from Kenwood Brewing over at Keliann's Pub and Grill. Bar and Grill? Pub and Grill? Same thing. But they're down at 16th and Spring Garden, so looking forward to this one. So let's get going. What's up, everybody? It's Anthony Kaz. I'm down here in Philadelphia at Keliann's Bar and Grill. I'm here with Matt and JP from Kenwood Brewing. We're going to learn all about what they're up to, what they've got going on. They've been blowing up recently. I've been seeing them all over. I'm all the way out in Doylestown, and I'm seeing you guys at a couple distributors there. How's it going?
Going great, man.
Yeah, going well, man. Thanks for meeting with us today.
Thanks for taking the time to meet with me. I mean, the beer's awesome. How did all this start?
So the real origins of this are actually pretty funny. We don't tell this a lot, but we were at a wedding in Mexico, and JP was there we were there together, and we were in the pool, and I was like, we should start a beer company. And JP was the only one that took me seriously. We have some other friends that did not take me seriously. We still make fun of them today. Not that we're like, millionaires, but we have fun doing what we do. And JP was like, yeah, we'll start a beer company. So like literally that was 2019, I think, summer of 2019. So from there, like got both of our brothers, I quit my job, and, JP had a job where he could, do a lot of work during the day as well. And we found someone that would help brew our beer.
Nice.
And that was kind of step one. And from there, it was like, okay, we can brew some beer. We got it to like our friends' bars and like a couple of beer distributors to see if it like actually worked. And it worked. Our like launch party, we kicked 9 half kegs. And that was like awesome. And we're like, all right, this is
a good start.
Like, yeah, we can do this. So, but yeah, it all started because we were like literally in a pool. And I was like, let's like start something and like have a beer company. But
I remember when we got back like months later, he texted me like, "Yeah, by the way, I was actually serious about that."
I was just going to ask, like, there's always those drunk ideas, or we're partying and somebody says something, you go, yeah, let's do it. But you actually followed through.
Yeah, but the premise of where the extra cash that we wanted to start a business, JP can tell you where that comes from.
So me and my brother, we hit a couple block pools. In like a back-to-back, like quick time. So then he texted me, he's like, "Hey, are you actually serious about this?" I was like, "Well, actually, I just gave him a little bit of cash from the gambling." So I was like, "Yeah,
that's awesome."
Like, how do you not?
Yeah, and you start that amount of cash is fine. It'll take us for however long to get rid of that, and then you realize how much money and how quickly you burn through any money. But yeah, that's like the premise of this whole thing. An idea in a pool in Mexico, some cash from a block pool, and then experience in beer and beer sales helps as well to have the confidence to do it. But it was an idea that we figured we could actually do and hope to make it work.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people who start kind of in that homebrew, they get that good beer and they're like, oh, how do I turn this big? It's hard without all that experience, right? Because you were at a bigger beer place. Where were you before?
My family has always been bars.
Okay. So the ins and outs of the back end.
Which is the most, like, the retail part is the most important that brewers don't know, right? Because brewers can be the best beer makers in the world, but they have no idea how to deal with the retail account.
Sure.
Right? And that's, like, to us, that's the only thing that matters. We can find people to make great beer, and we did. We have amazing people that have made our beer the whole time.
Yeah.
But like that side of the bar, it's hard to understand. It's hard to talk to people. It's hard to be likable. So like we always say, the most important thing we can do is build a relationship. Everything else can take care of itself.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, and it's absolutely true, whether it's brewing or any
It's
retail type idea, you have to know how to build those relationships.
Yeah.
So you guys came up with this idea, let's open a brewery. what was the onus behind this specific style of beer and why this?
It's also kind of funny too because when
I love it.
he loves this craft beer. So when he first came to me and talked about it, I was like, I don't know, I couldn't like put my name behind like an IPA. I don't really drink too much.
Yeah.
And he was like, nah, light beer, want to do that, and
Yeah, it was like something we wanted to drink because I worked for Victory, and they made a ton of great beers, and I drank everything. You know, they're one of the best breweries in the country, but we were like, let's make like a better light beer, a better light lager. Like, because I hated Bud Light, I hated Miller Lite.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to see those two beers and then us next to them. I want people to be like, oh, I want a little bit better version.
A little more
right?
flavor.
We're not a Bud Light. We're not a Miller Lite. We're like a notch above that, like a premium light.
Yeah.
And
I
then
agree.
we also wanted to be like the Philadelphia representation of what those guys are to, like St. Louis is Budweiser.
Right.
Milwaukee is Miller.
Right.
Like we want to be that for a style of beer around the country.
East Coast.
And that's,
there.
that's obviously like the ultimate goal is to be known for Philadelphia's beer. And it takes a ton of work and a ton of time. But like that was the entire premise of this. Like there's no beer that you can go to in Oregon and they're like, oh, that's Philadelphia representation.
Right.
Whereas if you go to Oregon and you find a Budweiser, you know that's St. Louis.
Right.
Right? So our goal was to do that. And then something that we liked to drink, we know we could drink right now at 11 o'clock.
Oh, we don't have to tell everybody it's 11 o'clock.
Well, we know we could drink all day and all night. And, something that is affordable. We think the affordability factor for us is so important because you can go to a bar now and you can't find a beer for under $7-8 sometimes.
Right.
And we hate that. We want beer to be affordable and something that you can go and drink and not have to take out a loan to drink 10 of them. You can go into your wallet, leave a good tip for the bartender, and drink something all day.
Yeah, because accessibility is a big part of not only growing, but getting people to like it and try it. And, an $8 light beer, people are like,
How much is a pint here?
$4. Yeah.
And like if you don't,
it's huge.
And the whole thing is like if you don't like it, then you spent $4.
Right.
That's
not
it.
a big
You're
investment.
not in for $8 to $10. Like you can spend $4, a $2 tip. You're out of here at $6. Where some of these beers, you're spending $9 with a $3 tip. You just spent $12 for something that you hated.
Right.
And it took you like 20 minutes to drink because it's 12% ABV.
Right, and I think going into that kind of light lager space is a place where it's not going to be offensive to anybody either, right? There's probably nobody who goes, I hate this.
Yeah,
right?
Trust me, there is. You'll always find people.
You'll always find people.
Always people that hate it.
Right, but like you were saying earlier, there's IPAs, and I've never been a big IPA person until I started this channel because I wanted to try to expand my own reach.
Yeah.
But before that, I was like, I'm not even going to bother ordering one. But any kind of light beer, it's like I'll give it a shot.
Yeah,
right? I'll give a lager a shot.
And I think we're like people forget that light lager is still the largest beer segment in the world, like by far, or lager, right? Light lager, American lager. And it's driven by the big 3, big 4 breweries.
Yeah.
This is the biggest segment. It's because of the things we named: affordability, taste, flavor, light, crisp, all of those things. And going after that segment is what we wanted to do because people come in here and they'll drink 40 Miller Lights, right? And it's like, why are they doing?
You got Andre the Giant coming in here.
Good. A lot of people still love that. We try and drive the citywide aspect, and a lot of people love that beer and shot mentality where, if you are doing something higher ABV, kind of takes that option for getting a little whiskey in out of the...
Yeah, I mean, this is a top-notch tailgate beer too, right?
Yeah, this football season, this is your tailgate beer. Like, if you're going to the link, this is the beer you drink.
Yeah, I love that.
Especially because we're brewed in Philly, which we still think is really important.
I agree. I mean, there's we don't have to bring it up, but there's all that Bud Light controversy. If you want to actually have an American beer, this is the birthplace.
Yeah,
right here.
Right.
Oh, Kenwood.
Yeah, we brewed our first few batches at Doylestown Brewing Company.
Okay, right in my
and that
neighborhood.
was because honestly, yeah. So that was because he entered us and he said he would do it, and that was the only reason.
That's awesome.
And he was awesome, man. Helped us in so many ways. But then we wanted to scale a little larger, so we moved our production to Mainstay Brewing, which is the old Yards Brewing facility on Delaware Ave. And Brian O'Reilly there is freaking awesome as well. He helped us in more ways, you know, right? Learning, keep growing. And then this past April, we moved our production to Yards on 5th and Spring Garden. They produce more beer, and they've helped us in even more ways. So we thought it was important to get the beer brewed in Philly, but then work with like some of the best people that we know and that we can think of. So we're lucky because we've had really good people along the way, and now we're super happy being at Yards because like that's just a world-class like company, facility. It's such a cool place that, you know, we're lucky to brew our beer there. And we're okay saying we don't brew the beer. Like that's kind of the point.
Right.
We want to go out and sell and market and distribute. Brewing is not our specialty.
No,
we can't do that.
And I think that's important too, because now you've got these people who are experts at making the beer, right?
Yes.
And just making that idea come to fruition.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's exactly how we think of it. Like, they're so much better at brewing beer than us. And like most people, just let them do it. You know, let them be the experts at it. We can do the rest once it's done.
So the whole recipe for this, and again, it's excellent. That came from them, from you guys, a collaboration.
Yeah, so that story goes to when we started. In the first, when we first had the kegs, a buddy of mine that I know that owns Wrong Crowd Beer Company.
Okay.
In Westchester, I was like, hey, we want to make this like kind of light lager. Can you help us with the recipe?
Make sure.
He made the first keg of like a recipe that we came up with together, and we had it at my son's first birthday party. We had a whole keg of it, and we liked it.
The adults, not the kids.
Yeah. We were pouring it down all the
put them to sleep. That's how parents do it.
But we were like, you know what? It was done, and we were like, this is a good time to try it. We were all there, and we had it. We were like, this is great. Like this is exactly what we want. And it was a light lager, and that was the first iteration of it, which is now 3-4 years ago. But it was something that like I was kind of nervous about. I was like, is this going to be like the worst beer ever?
It was also nerve-wracking because the first batch, we said we went through 9 kegs in that launch party. That was already being brewed before we tasted it.
Right. Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So the 9 kegs.
Yeah.
You're committed to those, and hopefully they're good.
Me and Dan Shaw from Wrong Crowd, he brewed it at a bunch of places. We came up with this like initial recipe, and it was like based off of some. You know, we have rice in here, which it was intentional. So it was based off some already existing lagers.
Right.
But it was something that was all intentional what we did. And we were like, let's hope this works and tastes good. Because at the end of the day, we're using high quality ingredients because we have to, right? Like we're so small, everything we get is still high quality and craft. But with the rice edition, we were a little bit nervous. But, it worked out well. And we still, is this the exact beer we tasted on that day? Probably not. Is it damn close? Yeah, it's super close.
Little tweaks and things like that.
Yeah, and just as you move
time.
to places, like everything is different, from the equipment to the water to the scale.
Sure.
So it's everything it's as close as we think it could be, but that exact beer that we had that one day, it's never going to be that exact thing. It's all similar though. It's all very similar.
That's a good story there.
Yeah.
I love that you had these 9 committed kegs, and you're like, shit.
It was like 12 kegs total, I think we had, and we had them split between 2 bars. But the night of the launch, we had to go get like kegs from the second bar. We're like, hey, we're going through too much beer. We got to steal these from the one bar to bring them to the launch party bar. And again, we were lucky. We had good relationships. It was super cool. But it was a lot of beer to go through. I think of that now. I'm like, whoa, 9 kegs in a night. I don't know how we're ever going to do that again. But we'll figure it out. That's, we'll have another party someday soon.
Oh, Eagles get back to the Super Bowl, have a big Super Bowl Kenwood party.
If they had a parade, we were going to do something at Keliann's, like beer outside, just keep the taps open and let people drink for free. Hopefully next year that's what we're doing. Yeah, gone in 4 quarters.
Oh, about a minute and a half there at the end.
2 minutes. But yeah, it's like that's a lot of beer, and I think our goal is to make sure like there is a day that we're going through that much in a bar or two on a good weekend.
So Kenwood Original. Who is your ideal drinker? Is it the Bud Light, Coors Light? You want them to try it? Is it everybody?
Yeah, the
right answer is that.
I think I would like everything to be beer for everyone.
Yeah.
The bar would be a bar for everybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're a lawyer making $400,000 a year, or if you're just regular industry bartender, whatever. something for everyone to be able to kind of come back to.
But like you learn to not be like anyone. Like we want to be like Kenwood. And like right now we have beer pouring at like Marion Country Club, one of like a super high end country club. But then we have citywides at bars all around the city that is like super driven by industry folk. So it's like kind of like JP was saying, we want everyone to be able to drink it if you're in your country club setting or if you're in your dive bar setting and you want a shot of whiskey next to it.
Yeah.
We saw a sign last night, Kenwood and a shot of whiskey for $7 at a place in Ardmore. And like, you know, that's affordable and it's what people that are in the industry want to drink, and it's something that you can drink if you don't make a ton of money, but you want to have a few drinks out that night. So trying to be something for everyone is always the goal. And yeah, like if we can be just what Kenwood is, then we'll be happy. Because you get asked every time you try to sell it, be like, oh, what do you compare yourselves to?
Right.
We always like had like, oh, we're like this or like that, but we're just Kenwood, and like try it. We want you to like it, and we want people to drink it. And if people just grow onto that with us, then we'll be okay.
Yeah.
We can't be compared to something because then you're just kind of putting yourself in this little pocket.
No, I agree. I think that's a great attitude. I think that's a great mindset for a brewery, a new beer, all of that. You and I were talking before. I thought one of the things that really attracted me to you guys was you've got this one core beer. A lot of small breweries come up and they're like, all right, we're going to make everything creative. We're going to go off the rails and peanut butter cup stouts with, and don't get me wrong, I love them. I'll drink them. There's a place for them. But you can almost spread yourself too thin. If you make one really good beer, it's easier to then just make little iterations and things like that, right?
Yeah. And like just laser focused on one thing is so much easier.
Yeah.
And it's like, trust me, it's so tempting to come out with like 5 more beers.
Yeah.
Because you just get them brewed, you go to the same bars and you're like, hey, we have this new beer. You make a few bucks, and then like it's really nice to do that like for business reasons, like cash flow and making money. But like what we're doing, it's just that long-term play of spreading out Kenwood as many places as possible.
Yeah, I mean the discipline that takes is difficult.
Trust me.
And that goes for everything, right? Whether it's brewing beer or just anything in your normal life. It's like, I can do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
But if you just focus on X, you're going to do better at X, right?
Yeah, that's what we try to think. Like I could come, if we brewed a hazy IPA, I could come to JP and be like, hey, let's put the hazy IPA on. And he would do it. But then it's like, all right.
From what he's saying about IPAs.
Yeah. But then it's like.
There's obviously a place for them.
Yeah, but then it's like, all right, now like we're focusing some of our assets on a hazy IPA. Where we want to focus everything on Kenwood. I mean, you see, like we both have Kenwood T-shirts on.
Right.
It's
I'm waiting for mine.
Yeah, yeah. And it's everything we do is like focused on one thing, and you hope you just hammer something in so much that eventually it sticks. But yeah, it's all intentional. It's like there is always temptation to do something else, but we just hope that in the long term it pays off to have one focus.
Yeah. No, I mean that is like I said, just a huge kudos for the discipline that shows. Now, you guys mentioned Marion. I've seen the golf league shirts. Are you guys both golfers? Are you casual?
Not good at all. No. It seems like there's a place on the golf course for something like this.
I agree.
Like Ultra does a great job of being the golf beer.
Yeah.
So like we get that, but again, like our beer isn't like super cheap light beer. Like it's a really good light beer.
Yeah.
So like you can be on a golf course because you don't want something that's like, there's so many beers, like I don't want to name names, but you can get them for like $15 a 30 pack. Like you don't want that.
Then it gets a little warm out there.
We actually just hit on exactly what I was going to say. We've been sitting here and I've had this in the glass.
Yeah.
As it's warmed up, the flavor is still really solid.
Yeah.
Unlike the $15 30 pack beers that we're not going to name. Once they get a little warm, I don't want to touch them.
Right.
It's like McDonald's fries.
Right. And they're impossible to reheat properly.
Yeah. So like we, being like the golf beer, it's hard. Like again, Ultra owns that space. Miller Bud do a great job in that space because it's so popular. So like being in the country club environment, I think we fit into because there's some beers that would never be in a country club. They just have that connotation of like, oh, that's too cheap. Right.
Yeah.
We can fit into that, but then we're also affordable enough where anybody can go to their public course, pick up a 15 pack, and they know they're getting a good beer that's light. They can drink during they're round and not break the bank for it.
No,
I feel like more often than not too, like the golfer fits into the sports liking gambler, where that's like a part of us that we obviously have always enjoyed, but yeah.
No, I agree with that. I think that's a solid market to kind of be in because it is. So I was a golf professional for 10 years a while back. So, when you mentioned Marion, I was like, oh, I've played there. Like, I know the courses, but I think that's a good space because it's a growing game that, even when I was younger, it wasn't super popular with my friends, right? They were all lacrosse, football, soccer, all of that. And they're like, golf's a dumb game. I'm not playing that.
Yeah.
And now everybody plays golf.
Oh, it's so popular.
And all my younger brothers, their friends play golf.
Especially with the indoor spaces, like the 5 irons and the Top Golf.
Yeah.
Like they're increasingly popular. So yeah, there's a space for golf. It's hard, like again, because everyone's seeing what you're seeing. Everyone's going into there.
Yeah.
So it's just really about knocking on those doors and trying to fit in where we can right now. But we're certainly paying attention to it and hoping that we can get more involved with some golf stuff. But there's no Kenwood Golf League yet. Hopefully one day.
We can get it there.
Maybe an outing or two down the road. So we can start with a nice Kenwood golf outing.
I think the outing space is good, and there's ways to get into those environments and things like that. So yeah, I think for sure that's an opportunity to grow. So you guys, obviously Philadelphia, born, bred, brewed, all of that. What's the expansion goals? All of that. I saw you guys are out towards Pittsburgh now.
Yeah.
How do you get beyond all of that, right? Like you said earlier, you go to Oregon. Who goes, oh, Kenwood, Philadelphia. That's the goal, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so like Pittsburgh was cool. We have like 5 accounts carrying us in Pittsburgh. That's easy because you're in state, so the licensing doesn't change. We should have our New Jersey license to sell any day now.
Oh,
everything's submitted. We should be in Jersey. I keep saying by August. Now it's by September. Hopefully by the end of the year at this point.
Yeah.
Same thing with Maryland. We want to go into Maryland. And then, I think it's just like state by state, city by city maybe. I think our beer resonates well in cities and urban areas because it's just densely populated. And if there's a bar that doesn't want to carry a macro beer, then we fit in like kind of by default. So if we're in the right spots, in the right cities, after kind of spreading ourselves out to the neighboring states, that's kind of the goal. Like, I think we can go to a city like a Milwaukee, right? The most random city you could think of in the Midwest. And if we had like the right beer at the right price with the right people, then like it can resonate, right?
Yeah.
Because we're a light lager. And maybe Milwaukee's a bad example because they have Miller in their backyard.
Yeah.
But I think it's about finding bars like Keliann's or like a lot of the bars in Philly that like they don't want to have a Miller or Bud on tap. They'll have them in bottles, but they want to have a good light lager that's premium and affordable. But it's first about getting to like New Jersey and Maryland because they're 10 minutes away.
Yeah. So now, from your perspective, I mean, Keliann's here. Obviously, it's on tap. How has it been received here in town?
It's been great. We sell a ton of it, and I try and not like I'm not
try to push it.
If you look around, like there's a couple Kenwood signs. It's not like you don't want to like throw it in anyone's face. I just like to put it out at the right price. $4 is probably pretty advantageous for typically whatever else is on tap. So. I'm just throw it out for a good price and let people kind of make their own opinions on it. That's what I like about like when I'm bartending too. I'll just get someone and they'll give me the most honest feedback I'll ever get because people know I'm involved with the beer. They wouldn't be nearly as honest. I mean, some people are. But you truly, like, some people be like, don't like this at all. And I'm like, hey, it
happens,
great.
right? Yeah.
It's just the odds of there's a million beers in the world.
Right.
The odds that you're going to like all of them.
It's impossible to make one for everyone. Like, we can say we want to, but...
Exactly.
Sometimes you get some really genuine, like, people think, this is amazing. And then they kind of find out, like, I'm part of it, and they're like, holy shit, like, this is a great beer.
It's good of you to keep that under wraps until after you get the feedback.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't care one way or the other, it's a beer, like, it's...
Yeah, no, I mean, it's great. I mean, the flavor is, there's more flavor than the big boys that we have out there, which I would expect. And like I said, one of the things I really like is as it's warmed up, the flavors stayed
Yeah.
consistent. You don't get that kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of done with this one already, and almost just throw it out and water the flowers with it.
Yeah, I guess a big guy coined the term drinkability, but it's about the drinkability.
Yeah.
Being able to have a pitcher in front of you.
And the other thing is like why I think it resonates well here, which I think would translate to a lot of other bars. It's kind of like how we have the street signs. It's kind of like anyone's neighborhood bar.
Yeah.
Like that you're always going to be able to get at your local spot. You know, and I feel like that resonates with a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
So where did the name come from?
It's the street I grew up on.
Okay.
That's it. So the story is that. So it's the street I grew up on, which has meaning to maybe 100 people in the world, right? And that's okay. Like we want people to have no idea that it's a street. I was listening to a podcast with a really good entrepreneur, Sarah Blakely from Spanx.
Yeah.
And she always talked about like a hard.
You don't have to be embarrassed about that. She knows what she's doing.
No, she's amazing. And like she was literally talking about the hard K sound. She named like Kit Kat and Kodak and McDonald's and Kenwood like fit into that.
Yeah.
So it was like first
like
we
that.
had a list of names, and then it was like, all right, it has a hard K. If Sarah Blakely says it's good, then it's good. And I
It
was
must be good.
If I ever meet her, I will give her a lot of credit because like people have these stories of like listing hundreds of names and like narrowing it down and like hiring a firm to like make a name. I was like, no, let's keep it simple. Like this and that and go. And like Kenwood is easy to say, easy to remember, easy to read. Like your 4-year-old can say Kenwood.
Right.
So like that's important to us.
Yeah.
In the beer world, it's important to be, pronounceable.
Good to have nickname ability.
Yeah, I love the Kenny,
And then,
grab a Kenny.
Yeah,
I love
and then
that.
it naturally spun into grab a Kenny because Kenwood, Kenny, Kenneth, whatever. It goes on forever. And again, it all comes back to like Kenny and Kenwood. They're very easy to say and pronounce and read and all that good stuff.
Yeah, no, I love it.
It's and you put it real big and people know what it says. And that's simple, but not everyone does that.
It's funny because I grew up on a street, Kentwood.
There you
So
go.
there was just
Yeah,
one
that's our
letter
next
off,
beer,
and I was like, did this guy grow up in my neighborhood?
Yeah. And you come to find out, like a lot of things are named Kenwood around the country. Like we were in Pittsburgh, and there's a Kennywood amusement park.
Okay, interesting.
There's a Kenwood Country Club in like Ohio and Maryland.
Oh, you got
like,
to pair up with them.
It's crazy. Yeah, so we want to, but it's amazing. And then obviously when people are named Kenny, they have this like automatic attachment to it. And if they're a quarterback in the NFL for a team in Pittsburgh, we'd love to work with them. But that's a pipe dream.
So Sarah, Kenny, and all the Kenwood Country Clubs will tag you.
Yeah, tag
and
everyone.
talk to these guys. We'll get you in contact.
Yeah. So, but it's a name that like we're stuck with now. So we're gonna learn to love it if we don't yet.
That's awesome. I love it. All right, so we've brought up football a couple times now. We've talked a lot about beer. So let's go to the Super Bowl. Was it holding?
The what? The big game?
Yeah, was it holding?
We can't say the S word here. The big game.
I can say it.
You can say it. Yes. Yeah, it was holding.
Okay. Was it
Can't put
holding?
yourself in that position now.
Can't put yourself
I
in
agree.
that
It's not where they lost the game.
Yeah.
But
No,
it was.
that was heartbreaking.
It was a great game. It was a heartbreaker.
It was like no one has ever sold as much beer in February as that we did that month. Like that was so cool. Like because everyone expected the Eagles to be good, but like the Super Bowl was wow. Eagles are in the Super Bowl. The big game. This is amazing.
Deserving, like not
Yeah.
2017. What like wasn't, but that was more.
That was a miracle year.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the injuries and
So,
stuff.
like-
This was more like
We were supposed to be here. Right.
So like we were literally planning, like because you have to plan for a parade, right? Because
You have to.
like
You have
Super
to
Bowl.
order beer ahead of time.
Yeah, right. Like once you get to the conference championship, you're like, there's a possibility.
Yeah,
right?
and everyone's like, "Yeah, you're gonna jinx it." I'm like, "No, you have to plan. Like, you have to. If you don't plan, then you're gonna have a parade without beer."
You're screwed, right?
Yeah. So like, it was cool because the hype around like February is the worst month for beer sales traditionally, right? In the entire calendar
Is that
year.
in bars, at distributors, both?
Everywhere. Right?
Interesting.
Everywhere.
I actually did not know that.
Yeah. So unless your team's in the
Super
big
Bowl,
game.
okay.
So like when you have people drinking and
I'll
like
switch to
it's,
the new game and or mute myself.
It's not even like that Sunday people are drinking. It's like people are drinking up until that Sunday.
Yeah.
The party atmosphere, like people are just so excited that if we had another week of drinking because of a parade, it would have been like one of our best months ever.
Yeah.
So it's funny because you're not going to get that every year, right? Hopefully it happens again and again and again, but naturally you're not going to get it every year. So like that month was a lot of fun, and like we wish there was a parade, and hopefully one day in our existence there will be. But you watch a game in like a different kind of mindset because you're just thinking like a parade for beer and business and more beer sold, right? So like you're a fan, but then like you're even more of a fan because you realize how much business that means for you as a Philadelphia beer company.
So then, so we've got the new season coming up. What's the Eagles' record at the end of the year?
What do you think? I'll go 11 wins. I think 11 wins.
11 wins?
Okay.
Okay.
It's tough schedule.
I was trying to do the math of adding the playoff games.
Nah, just regular
11,
season.
11 regular season wins.
11, okay. JP?
I'll have a little more faith. Okay, well, what is it? They play 18 games now, so 13-5.
Okay.
No, 17.
The 17
18
games, so
weeks.
12 and
Yeah,
5 or
13-4.
13-4. I love
13-4.
it. All right,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, they have a tough schedule.
They do have a tough schedule, on paper, but then, when we look at last year, it was an easy schedule to start that, looked easy, and then all of a sudden it's, hey, everybody was actually pretty good that they played.
Yeah, you're right. So again, it's cool because bringing it back to beer, like there hasn't been this much hype for an Eagles season, since post Super Bowl, but like it just feels like this year they're supposed to be in this Super Bowl, right? Like
Yeah, which is usually a letdown year, unfortunately.
Right. So but it's like I feel like there's so much hype for this season. It's super cool, and for us it just means like super packed bars, a lot of people drinking.
Yeah.
And that's like just a beautiful sight to see.
So are we going to see some Kelly Green Kenwood stuff this year, or Kelly Green Kenwood?
There's some mock-ups out.
Oh, I love
there's
it.
Some
I
mock-ups
love
out
it.
and about. Yeah. We.
I'll wait for that shirt.
There's some. We got some stuff mocked up. We'll see if we pull the trigger.
Okay.
It looks good, and Kelly Green's obviously the hottest color in the city right now.
Yeah.
So if we can, we can dip into that Kelly Green market, we're gonna do it because that's what we do. Like our merch is like how people put out beers every month. We put out merch every month.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So like
which
that's
is
kind
awesome.
of our goal. Keep the merch fresh. Keep it relative to like the market. But at the same time, make sure it looks good and people want to wear it.
Yeah.
We get compliments on this citywide U shirt. So many.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So much. So that's our boy Jimmy Donofrio in Washington. He made that for us. He's awesome. But keeping merch fresh and relevant is important to us.
Yeah, I think that makes a big difference, and I think that's what grabs people's attention, right? That you have somebody out there wearing that shirt walking, the Jersey boardwalk, and everybody's like, what the hell's that?
It happens a lot. Yes.
Yeah,
You've heard that
that's
a lot.
the key, right?
Yeah.
Especially in this area, Jersey Shore's a huge opportunity once, any day, month, week that license comes through.
Yeah. Year. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they definitely go through a lot of beer down there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Wildwood guy myself. That's where I've been going my whole life. So I'll probably pick up a couple of cases of Kenny before I head down in a couple weeks.
There you go.
Bubba's.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. All right, a couple final questions, more city related than Kenny related. Best cheesesteak in the city, or favorite cheesesteak?
So look, I've been on record saying this. Like I love Pat's.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm okay. Like
Interesting.
I'm okay.
It's the best. It's just a different animal.
No, but like I have a lot. No, I don't care. I've had every cheesesteak from everywhere.
You guys can come down.
It's fine to me. It's fine. That's
Give me your best.
no.
It was always John's Roast Pork over the years, but I've been since converted to an Angelo's guy.
I haven't had any.
It's just a little easier to order for me. You don't have to jump through. I mean, it's still difficult.
I don't care. I've had every cheesesteak. I like a lot. I don't like a lot. I'm okay saying Pat's is my favorite to eat.
Okay.
And favorite
And
and best
every-
are also two different things.
Yeah, are you gonna say
My
best or
favorite movie
favorite?
might not be the best movie.
Yeah, my favorite is
Like
Pat's.
Curly's. You've been to Curly's.
Curly's and Love Drums, amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm
But-
cheesesteaks.
But what I always say is like you could find a really good cheesesteak anywhere.
Oh, agree.
Like you go to a pizza shop next door, and that's a great cheesesteak, right? So when people are like, "Oh, Pat's and Gino's," like, yeah, there's
See,
great
this man
cheesesteaks
knows
everywhere.
the company line.
Like there's cheesesteaks everywhere. So like if I'm gonna have one last cheesesteak for the rest of my life, I'm okay going to Pat's.
Interesting.
I love it.
So
I like that.
And like it's the cheese fry.
I like that
I'm
you're
dying
on
by
this
them.
hill too.
And like the cheese for everything. I love it.
So for everybody who's not in Philadelphia, the Pat's versus Geno's thing is a big debate, and most Philadelphians don't eat there. So mine has always been Jim's or Steve's. Those have been my
I
favorite.
love
You're a
Steve's.
Northeast guy. So
Right, Steve's is up there, but Jim's for being in town was always it.
I love Steve's.
There's a place, Bly Street Cafe, and it's out of the Color Cross Tavern.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I love it. So then, final question. If you're not drinking Kenny, what is your beer of choice, if you have one?
If I'm not drinking Kenny, I'm drinking gin.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm probably drinking red wine.
That's it. It's Kenny or no beer.
My rule of thumb is don't get caught in public with a non-Kenny.
If I'm out and somewhere else, like, they don't have it, then I will
Yeah.
make decisions based off that,
Yeah.
This time of year, maybe if I'm down the shore and we don't sell down there, I'll drink Colonel Light, and just
Okay.
typical stuff. But
I'll drink gin, Negronis, gin and tonics. I try not to get caught in public without a Kenny. That's the goal. But honestly, like if Yard's, Mainstay, or Doylestown has a beer, I try to support them because they've done a lot
supported
for us.
you guys, right?
They've done a lot for us.
No,
So
and I think that's
I think that's
awesome.
okay
I
to
think that's
say,
huge. I think, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
But if there's not a Kenny in our hands, we're probably not in the market, like in New Jersey or something.
So then, I guess one more question then. What's next for Kenwood Brewing?
It's New Jersey, it's Maryland, and then it's about finding the right cities and the right states and the right districts, I guess, if you're thinking of DC. We really want to make sure this beer can travel anywhere. So, like, we've been in Philly, we've been in 28 counties in Eastern PA, we've been in Pittsburgh. Like, now we have to go to other places.
Yeah.
Like, focus on other states. And this light lager segment has just, like, exploded in the last 2 to 3 years. Like there's so much competition now in a good way. Like we welcome the competition, but like now we have to race to be the best and the first in all these cool markets. So, it's a race about like who is that best light lager that isn't one of the macro guys.
Okay.
So we want to be the best craft light lager in the market in any state, wherever it could be. So that's our goal. I mean, look, if we're in 50 states in 10 years, we'll be pretty freaking happy.
Yeah.
But that's really, really hard to do. So, we start with the surrounding states and, try to be the best light beer in every state.
I love that. And if you were to brew some other iteration, some other Kenwood beer, what would it be? Both of you, because I know you have different tastes, right?
Yeah, we've thought about a shandy comes to mind because you're already using your existing beer,
Sure.
where that makes it a little easier. But yeah, obviously the hazy IPA is the fastest growing beer for a reason. But, but yeah, I don't know.
Personally, I think I do Kenwood with lime.
That I was actually going to say, if I can throw my opinion in, which matters to nobody.
No, it matters.
Like a
Every
Mexican
opinion
lime lager is because that's my summer go-to when
it's a lot of people's summer thing.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
add a little lime to a Kenny already, it's delicious.
Yeah.
So if you just brand a
Like a
Kenwood
little
with lime,
chilada.
yeah, it could be killer. But if we could make a beer that has nothing to do with Kenwood and call it Kentwood Hazy IPA, and then we have a hazy IPA to put out there.
I love it.
There's possibilities are endless, but Kenwood with lime would be pretty damn cool.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, again, I appreciate your time today. Awesome stuff on all the success you've had so far, and I wish you all the best in the future here. So, everybody, grab a Kenny when you can, and cheers. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.